filming of The Decline, the Germ segment, which was at Cherry Studios, which Donnie had told everybody about at the Harupa House about, and we'd all carpooled out for that. I guess Donnie had already been on TV. I don't think I saw it talking about punk rock violence. That would have been summer of 1980, July of 1980, because that summer was the first summer things got violent. Okay, the Germs thing had already passed. Okay, the last Germs show that night, it was raining. We'd carpooled out to Hollywood. We had to make the requisite stop at the Pleasure Chest on Santa Monica Boulevard, a few blocks before you get to the Starwood. And of course, it was Pleasure Chest was in between the Starwood and Okie Dogs, which was east, but not far from the Hollywood freeway. So we'd gone to everybody was at the show. There was a whole bunch of us. Ron, the bass player from Moral Sex, was there. It was just a very chaotic night. I remember this going around there, and that was the first night I met Melissa, hanging out with Donnie, walking along Santa Monica Boulevard, and running into Melissa. Melissa had a joint. We got stoned sitting there. It was just like a light drizzle rain. Going into the show, on the way in, I remember by then the hardcore beach, Huntington Beach look was already out. There was this really fun, muscled punk boy with practically shaven blonde head. In fact, it was. This is the interview tape continued, part 2, tape 2. We're at the Germs last show, December 3rd, 1980. I'm standing in line behind this suede head punk guy, full-on Huntington Beach hardcore look, ripped jeans, a flannel shirt tied around his waist, almost like a butt flap, big engineer boots with studs on them, and the bandana's tied around him, got a big earring, and I just remember thinking, God, man, this boy's fine. Being able to like rub up against his butt as we're being crammed into the show. Did China Wide Open? Everybody was saying X was going to be playing, but I guess they didn't. Was it China White who played first or Middle Class? I just barely remember the Middle Class playing. It was a short set, and then being down in the crowd, pushed up. I was pretty far from the stage for the Germs. It was really hot and sweaty. Donnie and Melissa and all the Germs In crowd were up on the balcony. There was a balcony, and we didn't go up there because to sit down, you had to be able to buy drinks and stuff. Was I 21 at the time? I can't remember. I don't want to do the math in my head right now, but anyway, it was like to utilize the sit-down part of the booths or anything of the Starwood. Same policy at the Whiskey, you had to buy drinks, you know. So I didn't go up there. Renee was with me, Ron was with me, Stacy was there. It was a mass of just surging up and down. The Germs were chaos. I remember laughing, some of the things Darby said. And then it was all over. It was shut down. It was all over. And everybody left, and we all went to Okie Dogs, of course. Everybody was hungry. Okie Dogs was cheap. Darby said, see you all at Okie Dogs. And we got there, and there was hardly anybody there. I remember there was another big Huntington Beach-looking skinhead-type guy blasting C30, C60, C90 Go. I'm pretty sure that this memory happened on that night, and like doing a real hardcore skank in the parking lot. It was just blasting out. You know, of course I recognized the drums from Adam and the Ants, so it must have been, yeah, the C30, C60, C90 Go cassette. And I remember that it started raining. I was sitting in the back of the station wagon. We'd gone there. Darby was in the car next to us, and he just kept yelling, "Fuck you, Michelle, fuck you, Michelle." I don't know if he was talking about Michelle Bear, who played his girlfriend in The Decline. She was there, and so was Gerber, who was also Michelle Bell. And he just sank in the back seat of the car. It was raining. He didn't even notice me, but I remember looking at him for a good 10 minutes after he'd had that tantrum. Then the rain had stopped. I got out of the car. I remember eating some of Okie Dog's famous huge French fries came in a brown paper bag, and you got a paper plate and dumped ketchup all over it. And Lorna was there, and Bill and I were eating the fries and talking to Lorna, and she started to walk away, and Bill gave her her t-shirt. And I was wearing my Germs t-shirt that we'd made in silk screening class. And all those photographs that are now in that the cat's claws, all those photographs, Bill had taken those at the Fleetwood show in 78 and 79, or beginning of 80, 79 and 80, so we had silk screened all those pictures onto t-shirts, so we all had our own custom-made Germs shirts. I since lost that shirt in the early 80s, where somebody stole it. So I remember Bill giving Lorna his shirt, and then we came back to Riverside. That was a Thursday night. Sunday morning, Sunday mid-afternoon, Donnie came over and said to my apartment, that first apartment I had, the studio, and said Darby killed himself, and Donnie started to cry, and I started to hug him and hold him, and he took both his fists, and not real hard, but out of frustration started hitting me on the chest with both his fists, and crying and going, "Why did he do it? Why did he do it? Why did he have to do that?" Then I think we got drunk that afternoon, listened to the Germs record. The next day, I remember talking to a lot of people about it, which was Monday, December 7th. And that night I had played both sides of the Germs Lexicon Devil single. I just got done playing Lexicon Devil, turned on my TV, and John Lennon had just been shot. Bill Bartell, he'd come over my house Sunday when Donnie was there. We told Bill about Darby, and that freaked him out. Then Bill came over right after that. I told him John Lennon was just killed. Bill never came over my house for a long time after that. And that takes us through the end of the year. I wasn't involved in any of Darby's funeral. I remember Donnie gave me a cutting out of something that was the long strip. But Donnie had gone to the funeral along with everybody else. And it was the beginning of 1981 that I guess I wrote that poem. That first poem I wrote for Darby. The one with the "Fuck you, Michelle," broken circle. Okay, let's see what the next question is. Yeah, Cahuenga too. That was fall '79, and that was the first incarnation was with Bill Bartell, and it entailed me reading poetry while he did music, and this guy Bruce played drums, and this guy Mark was on bass, Bill on guitar. I basically read poetry. They did Shutdown. Donnie sang Shutdown with them. That took place at this house party gig in Riverside where the Omelets played, and they were like one of Orange County's very early bands. Totally disgusting, pre-industrial. The lead singer, I forget his name, but they all had the last name of Omelet. Produced a maggot-infested, decaying sheep's head and proceeded to fuck the eyeball. That was in the fall of '79. Absolute craziness. I must have also put out Silence True Blood, Silence Everybody about that time, fall of 1980. And again, True Blood Press Limited. So that was all. It was all so intense, Al. Everything was going on at once, at one time. Everything. You know, the Cahuenga thing was a joke at first. Oh, it always was a joke. You know, the squeeze was still going up until into the fall of '79. All of 1980 happened. 81 now. It must have been post Darby's death when things started coming even more together in Riverside. Death Patrol had been going on since '79, with Renee on vocals, Donnie on bass. They started getting a little bit better and doing shows. There were several shows, one in a loft, a dance loft thing. I think the Reactors album was recorded that summer. Renee and I spent the weekend with them. It was summer '81. We spent the weekend with them, did our backup vocals. Also, about that time, Moral Sex started, and the Rupa house had closed down. Everybody had moved to this house on 7th Street. It was a group of apartments behind a big main house, and the garage had been turned into a recording studio already with padded walls and everything. It was during the summer of '81 we started having gigs there. And that summer was Moral Sex started coming together. We started writing songs. Moral Sex was made up of Stacy, who was also the guitarist for Death Patrol. She was our guitarist. Ron on bass, who wouldn't join Death Patrol until after Donnie left Death Patrol. And this guy who was just sitting in on drums for both us and Death Patrol. Death Patrol and Moral Sex shared some of the same people. The music was very different. Renee was the lead singer of Death Patrol. I was the lead singer of Moral Sex. Our writing styles were different. Our sound was different. I also started getting into Adam and the Ants, and Bow Wow Wow. I wanted to write a jungle rhythm song. We came up with that. Oh, I made you copies of the tapes. That one where it came out different every time, but lyrically I was very influenced by No God and the Germs. I was very influenced lyrically by him, by Darby. It must have also been, by that time I definitely heard, I'd already owned Joy Division's second album and had the first New Order single. They'd gotten both of those in 1980. 45 Grave was starting to play Influence. They were playing around. We were going to see them play at the Whiskey. They were coming out here to play. There was a place in San Bernardino, a bar place that started having bands. I think Tony left the Reactors and started the Sins, which Bill Bartell was involved in them also. 81 was another hectic year. It was also, we started, the Squeeze had been closed, we'd started that club, the Ritz, on University Avenue. In fact, they started having bands there. We conned them into, they were just like, it was like a Mexican discotheque. And we started talking them into playing punk records during the weeknights. And we would get drunk and go down there and have this huge dance floor and stage to jump off of and shit. We talked them into having bands play there. One of the first was Black Flag played right after their first album came out. In fact, the same day it came out. 81, I'd already started working at Licorice Pizza, so I had that going for me financially and musically. Having a lot more access to bands that were coming out. I was getting into Joy Division, New Order, 45 Grave were the big influences, and the hardcore scene. We started playing more like a hardcore band, but with various influences. Moral Sex I'm talking about, which was originally named Moral Minority after a song that Ron and Stacy had wrote. I didn't write that. That was the only song I didn't have anything to do with the lyrics to. So it must have been about that time I started working on Book of the Dead. 45 Grave was a big influence on that. I don't think that was my fifth project. That didn't come out till December 1981. Moral Minority was already playing. We lost the drummer. Robin Hospital was drumming for Death Patrol. Our original drummer was out of the picture. Renee was back at the Hookah House, but Brian kept the studio in his apartment. And Moral Minority lasted until February 1982 when we broke up, because it was just too much. Ron became the bass player because Donnie had left in 81 at Death Patrol. So the only difference, Robby was the drummer of Moral Sex. Then Robin left Death. At one point, Death Patrol was all girls. She must have still been the drummer. I guess Robby never played drums. He maybe sat on a Death Patrol gig once or twice. But Rob Brooks. We played our last gig in February of 1982 at the Hookah House. Somebody had given me some pills. I was fucked up. And apparently I laid down behind Stacy's amp and I sang the whole show laying down back there. The people said it was really good. It wasn't recorded. I wish it would have been, but I guess it wasn't. Also, Death Patrol played, and this band that Jack Lamb was in, this boy that I had a crush on, punk boy, The Decadence, or what was his band called? something like that. Anyway, that brought us into beginning of '82. Let me see what your next question is.